Okay, so at this point, you should have a website that contains a table with 2 images. And now we're going to move forward and we're going to code this chunk with the text. So you'll notice again, we have one table with 1 row and 2 columns. So there's 1 column for each chunk of text, 1 for this menu bar on the left and 1 for the longer text on the right that's set up in paragraphs with a link. So what we're going to do is we're going to code this next chunk together. But just like before, we need to really think through this table before we actually code it. The first is that it's borderless and it only contains 1 row. The second is that it has 2 columns, 1 for each section of text. So I had here the menu bar and here some more descriptive text. I want it to take up 90% of the width of my browser, just like the previous table. And then it has a spacing of 15 pixels between cells. And if you're not sure what spacing is yet, that's okay. We're going to talk about it on a later one, but then this is something that you'd think through, the spacing. And again, we'll talk through it, but we're going to add that attribute in right away as well. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add in that table code. So I'm going to have, my table tags to start. And you'll notice in there, I also added in a break tag. That's simply to, put some more spacing onto my web page and space those tables out a little bit. So I added in my break tag. I'm now going to add in my table tags, closing that off. And then inside of my table, I know a couple of things about it. I know that it has a border of 0 pixels. I know that it has a cell spacing of 15 pixels. I know it has 2 columns of text. And then I know it has a width that takes up 90% of the browser. Notice I didn't just put 90, that would indicate 90 pixels. So I'm doing 90%. And then from here, I also know that I have 1 row in here. So I'm going to add that in as well and close that off. And then from here, we're going to start adding in the text. Now, something to note is that because these contain so much text, what I like to do is actually give it some space. So here you'll notice I'm kind of spacing these out a little bit. Instead of having 1 line for each cell, I'm actually putting a couple of lines. So it has the first row is taken up by those row tags right there. There is cell 1, so column 1 in that row, and column 2 in that row. So let's first think about the first part of that table. So in row 1, the first data cell is a menu bar with links. It's got a vertical alignment to the top of the cell, a width of 25%, and a background color of Gainsboro. The second data cell, which is that second column, is text about the video store. Again, it has a vertical alignment to the top of the cell and a width of 25%. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in those attributes right off the bat into each cell tag, and then we're going to actually add in the text next. So here, if we click, we're going to do that first data cell together. So we're here in that first data cell. It's got a vertical alignment that is to the top of the cell. It's got a width that's equal to 25% of the row. So it's going to take up 25%, leaving 75% for the rest. And then we've got a background color that's equal to Gainsboro. You can see that right there. Then from here, I'm going to use paragraph tags to type some of my information in. So I know that I have new releases is a paragraph that I'm adding in. I also know, and I want 2 words there. I know I'm going to have another paragraph right below that that says actors, so browse by actor. And then the next one says browse by type. So I've added those in, and then all of these act as links, which is why I have the link tags we learned in Unit 2 right next to them. So I'm going to have my anchor tag beforehand, my anchor tag after, and then I'm going to add in the hyperlink reference that I am referring to. So here I have new releases.html because when this text is clicked on, that's where I would like it to go. So I can copy that piece, and then I'm going to paste it down below. This second one, however, isn't going to link to new releases. It's going to link to actor.html. And then the last one is going to link to type.html. And then you need to make sure that you close off all of those links appropriately. So from here, you should now have your first data cell in. So if you save it and you run it, what you should see is that first piece here. And if I click on new releases, it's not going to that yet. It's going to, but I haven't created that website yet. However, if I click on actor, it goes to the actor page. And if I click on type, it goes to the type page. And those are two of the pages that I had you download already. That's why they're already linking. And we will create that new releases page very, very soon. So you can see that this is working and we're starting off on the right foot. Now from here, we're going to code the next chunk. So we've got that piece in, and now we're going to code this longer chunk that has the text about the video store. So here we know that this one also has a V alignment that goes to the top of the page, and it's got a width that takes up 75% of the browser, or 75% of the table, excuse me, which makes sense because this is 25%. And 75%, they're the only two columns, and they add up to 100%. Now, I want all of this text to be bolded, so that's why I'm putting bold tags at the beginning and the end. And if I want to indent those in a little bit, that'll make it really obvious that it's inside of that cell. And then from here is where I'm going to add in those paragraphs of text. So I'm going to copy and paste this over. I will expect that you will actually type it in, because you won't have the ability to copy and paste. So you'll have to add in that first paragraph and add in the second paragraph, which in the second paragraph, something you're going to notice, and I'll point out to you right now, is that there is actually a sneaky third paragraph in there. You can't see it very easily, but there is this paragraph right here that links to an email. So we talked about email links last chapter, and we're linking to an email link here. So you want to add in those paragraphs, and when you are done, what you should see if you run your code is you should see the menu bar on the left, you should see the text on the right, and if you click on Bell Video at isp.com, it should start opening up your email, which then you'll notice if I open up my email and actually log in, it's going to automatically open up an email that goes to bellvideo at isp.com. So that's what you should have so far. You should be able to see that. And this is actually the end of lesson 2. So make sure you have this down. Make sure that your links, all except for the new releases, are working. So the actor, the type, and the email. And then you can move on to the worksheet. And then you'll move on to a little bit more complex tables in the next lesson.